gaudy, so gaudy, so gaudy. Gaudy stats, gaudy stats, gaudy stats. Good God, that's gaudy. Welcome to Gaudy Stats
with Ben Simmons.
What's on the menu, Benny boy?
Welcome once again to the Gaudy Stats podcast. Today we talk about a man that's very near and dear to my heart. In my youth, I would watch him, and I would look up to him, and I would count his stats and think, is this as good as it gets for quarterback play in the NFL? I would ask myself that. We're talking about the one, the only, Steve Young. Oh, what a great player. If he only played in this era, his stats would be exponentially better, I think, in the era of a lot more passes to the running back, spread offenses, more of a reliance on passing than rushing. Not all the teams, but you know what I'm talking about. Those Breeze years, those Peyton years, 5,000 plus yards passing. The rule changes about how you can't rough up the receivers as much. Steve would have benefited from this, because I believe the era is still ongoing era. He is Patrick Mahomes before Patrick Mahomes. Yeah, I said it. Patrick Mahomes probably has a better arm, not going to lie. He throws the ball at weird angles that nobody else seemingly has thrown the ball in NFL history. These sidearm passes, whipping the ball around. Crazy, fun to watch. His stats are crazy. 5,000 yards passing and over 5,000 yards passing and 50 touchdowns. What? Could Steve have done that? Yes, he could have. Now, before you start yelling at me and telling me I'm a son of a bitch, let me just stop you right there, put my hand right in your freaking face and tell you, hold on. He was tall, he was strong, he could run around, he could buy time. With Andy Reid as his coach, he could have definitely put up that kind of season if he could have stayed healthy. That's another thing about Steve's career. He got hurt a lot. I wish Patrick Mahomes nothing but good health. I love watching him play. He is a joy to watch. But Steve Young has a lot of his same attributes. Was very accurate with the ball. We'll talk about that. By the way, yeah, I invite my friend Dan to talk about Steve Young. Dan's on the program. Dan actually sent me a text saying, like, man, I was looking over Steve Young's stats. They're crazy. They're crazy, but they're also kind of dated. They're from a time where quarterbacks didn't throw for over 5,000 yards. Over 4,000 yards was like a huge deal. I remember when Drew Bledsoe threw for over 4,000 yards, people were going crazy. Like, they were like, oh my God, is he an elite quarterback now? Drew Bledsoe? It's like, I think he was actually an underrated quarterback at this point. He was a statue. It seemingly had, blocks of cement tied to his feet. It could barely move, but he was a good quarterback. Steve Young, on the other hand, could run around, got lots of rushing touchdowns. We'll talk about that. But he had over 40 touchdowns total when it's rushing and passing a couple years, but he didn't have the gaudiest of the gaudy numbers that we have touched on in the past and we will touch on in the future. So there's that. But yeah, we get into a lot of stuff. We talk about Steve. We talk about the 76ers, Dan's NBA team. He's a Philly native. We talk about all kinds of stuff. More NBA. We just go in and out of random topics. Hope you enjoy. Thanks for listening. Here's Dan.
Hello.
Hey man, what's going on?
Not too much, man. How are you?
Doing all right. Did I catch you with your pants down?
Quite literally, but they're back on. So.
Why? Why don't you just keep them off? I mean, this isn't a video chat.
Well, one must project a certain air of professionalism regardless of the circumstances.
It's a good quote. It's a good quote. Yeah, it's something to tell the kids.
Thank you. I often tell them that while wearing pants because I must practice what I preach. and I'm not going to.
God, I really hope you're wearing Vans when you talk to the kids. Yeah, that would be bad.
100% completion rate so far in that regard.
Yeah, it's great.
So,
it's great, man. How's Philly treating you?
pretty well. I had a bit of a long night last night, so I'm moving a bit slowly this morning. But
hanging out with some of your childhood friends.
Yeah, discussing what the Sixers are going to do. Sixers baseball trivia, so forth and so on.
What are the Sixers going to do? I've actually thought about that myself recently. They got a lot of decisions to make.
I feel like they need to try to re-sign Butler and Harris, and then they need to extend Simmons. So, your namesake. So I don't know.
So you're in the Simmons camp.
Well, the point that I've heard people make that sort of resonates the most with me is that he's like Embiid health insurance, because he doesn't mesh perfectly with Joel Embiid, and he never will. But if and when Joel Embiid sort of collapses under the weight of 500 milkshakes a year, we've got another superstar who can sort of fill that void. So I mean, if he declines his extension, then he declines his extension, but you have to offer it to him.
Yeah, I do kind of prescribe.
I don't think he'll do.
Yeah, no, I think you're probably right, but I was gonna say I prescribe to the notion that he'd be better if he had his own team, kind of run the offense and be like a Giannis light kind of character, except better passer than Giannis. But that said, I mean he's young and he can make improvements and get better.
Yeah, and he doesn't need to become a good three-point shooter. He just needs to shoot the ball.
He hasn't even become a three-point shooter.
25% of your threes.
He's not even a three-point shooter. He doesn't even try. Or he does. He tried
he does not.
A couple times or something. Like how many shots did he
attempted one.
The whole year?
Yeah. One that wasn't like the end of a quarter. Yeah.
I don't think
there were a couple
that.
long heave buzzer beaters. But he only took one, like, in the actual flow of a game, if I recall correctly. I don't think there was another one. It's like Philly Twitter blew up, so I feel like I would have remembered a second one.
Well, I don't know. I feel like the shine has come off of him really fast. Maybe prematurely. I think he's still has a ton of potential, but a lot of people are just basically like, well, he's not going to be an Hall of Famer. He won't be an all-time great. He won't be even like, a multi-time All-Star. Actually, that's not true. People are saying he's going to be like an All-Star player in the future, but don't you feel like
he's already been an All-Star once?
But wasn't he? That's true. But I'm saying like, like kind of like a 10-time All-Star, kind of like a Chris Bosh type career. Even people are like, oh, I don't know. I mean, I still.
People have been very fickle with him, especially in Philadelphia. So
yeah.
It's like 1 minute he looks like the best player in the NBA, and the next minute he's a fucking role player. So
yeah, well, him and Giannis both need to develop kind of a mid-range game. I mean, Giannis in the playoffs, it was either a three or he was trying to dunk the ball. It was like there's no in between. And a lot of commentators said like, well, why doesn't he need to develop like a little mid-range jump shot? More variety to his game, and I think that's true. But same could be said for Ben Simmons, the other Ben Simmons. Sorry. Yeah, but I don't know, man. So, like, if you had to choose between him and Embiid, you're going to choose Embiid, correct?
If he's healthy, sure.
I don't know if I would choose Embiid, honestly.
It's a gigantic if, though.
Yeah.
Well, no, I think Joel Embiid playing his best basketball is, one of the 5 best players in the NBA.
Yeah.
I don't know if you can say that about Ben Simmons. Because like Joel Embiid playing his best basketball, like, who's guarding him?
Yeah, that's a good point. But like when Ben Simmons plays
without Leonard has proved that he can guard Ben Simmons.
Yeah, it's a good point.
I am all here for the Raptors getting swept and Kawhi going back to the Western Conference, though.
Yeah, the Philly fans are just so angry at the Raptors, but I with good reason. But I mean,
that shot had no business going in, Ben.
What's that?
No business whatsoever. That shot had no business going in.
Yeah.
I don't appreciate Kawhi Leonard defying physics. not okay with me.
Yeah, that was watching that live was just unreal. I mean, God, I mean these playoffs have been really entertaining.
Yeah,
Like the entertainment value has been out of this world. Well, we're here to talk about my favorite. I can't believe you sent me this message about um, Steve Young, and I had been actually mulling doing a pod about him for a really long time. I mean, I've been kind of saving it to savor it because he's my favorite Niner. He is my all-time favorite 49er. When he was in his prime, that was like when I was in my kind of like tweener, kind of teenagery. Just started watching a lot of sports. Just kind of started to understand the game. He was
growing into your oversized frame.
doing what?
You were growing into your oversized frame.
Yeah, yes. I was an awkward boy, just stumbling around, uncoordinated. Mind was very undeveloped. Hasn't developed much since then, honestly. But I was watching this guy play a whole lot. He had some dominant seasons. He was obviously behind Joe Montana for a long time, itching to get his chance. He just, for me, he's like just the complete quarterback. I mean, he had a crazy powerful arm. He was big. He was strong, and his scrambling ability was, I feel like even now is like super underrated. Like even in his final, like arguably his last full season was like his best of all time. That's why it was such a heartbreak when he went down the next season, and it was because of these chronic concussions he would have, like really bad. He would concuss really easily. Like someone could just flick him in the head, and he would be concussed. I mean, he was just very, very.
That happened to a lot of quarterbacks of that era, it seemed like, because they probably had all these undiagnosed concussions when they were younger.
Yeah.
And Aikman was like that too. His career sort of ended like that.
Yeah.
But I feel like there's, you said I sent you this text. There's a story behind that text that I feel like should be appropriate to share because,
please,
unlike you, I did not grow up a 49ers fan, although I did admire Steve Young quite a bit. But
tell me.
The story behind it is, a couple days ago, Bart Starr passed away. And they mentioned that he is one of 5 players with 2 Super Bowl or more Super Bowl MVPs. First of all, can you name the other 4?
One of 5 players with 2 or more Super Bowl MVPs?
Correct. Can you name the other 4?
Fuck. Terry Bradshaw.
That's 1.
Joe Montana.
2.
Tom Brady.
3.
It's staring me right in the face. Fuck. Tell me who it is. You're breaking up a little bit, Dan. What'd you say?
It's Eli from...
Oh, fuck.
Yeah. One of these things is not like the other. So
I gotta say, playoff Eli, though, was unreal. I mean...
those 2, he was very good in those 2 runs, especially the second one.
Yeah.
But the reason that this led me to Steve Young is because my initial guess was that Jerry Rice was one of those guys. And he's not. He does have one. And I distinctly remember Jerry Rice, like, running roughshod over the Chargers, which he did. He had, like, 140 yards and 3 touchdowns.
Them. But Steve's stat line was something else.
Steve Young had 6 touchdowns in that game.
Yeah.
So, and,
sorry. I got a little crazy there.
Yeah, that's all right. It was quite a game. It was almost as good as Nick Foles. So
Nick Foles, man, that's true. He had a crazy but like Brady had a crazy stat line in that Super Bowl too. That was just
he had 505 yards and 3 touchdowns.
Yeah, that Super Bowl was just from another planet, and it was so enjoyable to watch.
Yes, as far as I'm concerned, it is the most recent Super Bowl. The one that happened a few months ago actually doesn't count.
That was
because nobody played well enough to win.
It's disgusting.
And the Saints are the unofficial champions of the last NFL season. But the Eagles will continue holding that mantle until somebody actually wins a real game.
I'm sure people have talked about this, but the last 2 years for the Saints have been such a gut punch. Like first they get beat in the last second with a Diggs touchdown 2 years ago, and then they get screwed over by that horrendous call. The guy like pushing the receiver out of bounds. And if they had been against the Patriots, I mean, you know how I feel about Breeze, but he's not as sharp as he once was, but he can still sling the ball. And I gotta believe that their offense would have moved the ball at least once or twice and gotten like at least a couple touchdowns on the board. Maybe not because Go ahead.
Did you feel a physical pain in your chest when you said that Breeze is not as sharp as he once was?
My heart skipped
Did you have
a beat.
to actually flog yourself?
I was pinching my nipple and also like just slapping myself in the face. It was like really weird.
From the Church of Ben Simmons.
It was really weird. It was like pleasure and pain at the same time. But I know, man. I mean, listen, if they put Breeze back in the old Saints offense and it was just like Breeze, take us to the promised land. You're gonna throw the ball 15 times to your running backs. You're gonna throw it 30 times to your receivers. It's like the whole offense is on you. I still think he could do it, but it probably would wear him down a little bit, and he would probably get hit too many times. And I can see why they're doing what they're doing. Am I going to draft him in fantasy coming up? Part of me wants to, because at the beginning of last year, it looked like he was going to just, revert back to what he once was. But then they contracted the offense. By the end of the year, he was like, I think he was in the top 10, but he was not one of the best fantasy quarterbacks by any stretch.
Yeah, I had him on a team in my other league, and his good games were very good, but basically he was unstartable on the road.
Yeah, and see, the year I had him, not this last year, but the year before, it was like every game.
Years plural, like the 7 straight that you had him.
Well, I mean, he just had
all of your 20s.
Yeah, man, because he was Money in the Bank, and in our league when he had 6 touchdowns, it was like I felt like you had to take him because he was so damn consistent. If you look at his stats, and like that's another pod that, oh god, his stats are just so gaudy, and they're just like shimmering in gold. They're just glimmering. I mean, there's like an angelic light on them. It's unreal, his stats. And if he keeps this going, he's gonna be untouchable across the board pretty soon. You would think. Of course, Patrick Mahomes is waiting.
Until Matt Stafford passes him.
That's true, dude. If Matt Stafford passes him, that's gonna be sad. It's gonna be a sad day.
If he stays healthy, he probably will. But
I mean, if he can hold a job.
Points. Just get rid of completion points. It's gonna save a lot for the winner. Yeah.
You're breaking up a little bit there, but I think you were saying that points for completions and points for carries are bad. Now I disagree with you because I actually would be cool with I would actually be cool with us doing points for targets, and that's going to sound insane, but I think there's value to somebody getting a carry. Like, yes, it's this very simple thing. It's like somebody handing somebody the ball, but I feel like if someone's getting more carries than somebody else, then they're more valuable than that person. You know what I'm saying? So like,
yes, that's based on the yards and touchdowns, then.
Yeah, I just don't see it that way, man. And the completions thing, I'm too into that to ever take that. I mean, like I'd be like somebody from England arguing to keep national health care because the NHS. I would be that fervent, saying that I did not want you to take away my completion points because I'm too used to seeing that little 0.25 on top of the yardage and everything. I just love it. I can't really explain it, but I like more stats. If you can give me more numbers, more accumulation of points, then I'm going to take that every single time. So it's a little crazy. It doesn't make a lot of sense. I admit it, but what can we say? This is our system. It's bizarre. Oh man, sorry about that soliloquy there. Well, should we start digging into Steve? What do you think?
talk about Stevie Young yet. Yeah, I'm looking at his stats right here. I did a printout. I'm going old school. I got paper in front of me. But
Wow, old school, man.
His career really seemed to take off in San Francisco in 1992. And
What a year.
1991, actually. He started 10 games after that hurt.
Hey, man. Hey, sorry to interrupt you. Dan, sorry to interrupt you, but I'm having a little trouble hearing you. You're being really garbled.
Maybe I'm in my parents' old house and the reception's not great. Let me move to a different room.
Okay, I could hear you very clear just now. But before it was like I was having trouble hearing you. And it could be me too. I'm up in a second floor attic-y area.
Like I said, I was in my childhood bedroom, and it's probably got the worst reception in the house. So.
Oh, okay. What's that bedroom like?
Moved.
What's your bedroom like?
It's pretty much a guest room now. It's still got a dresser with like some of my old shit in it.
Yeah.
But most of my stuff has been moved to the basement.
A lot of crusty Kleenexes balled up.
No, Ben, we throw those away.
Oh, you do? You don't keep them as you don't collect them? You don't save those?
Oh. No, that's
Oh, okay.
If you're doing that, you might want to reconsider.
Well, no, I'm not doing that. I don't know why that came in my head. I mean, I will say that when I look through the drawers of my boyhood bedroom, there's some weird stuff in there. I'm not going to get into what, but it's just a time capsule. So you printed out Steve Young stats. You got it all in front of you. It's very. You know what? I think what you're doing is you're throwing back to that early '90s time of when you used to print everything out. You're trying to really get into like the time frame, right? Is that what you're doing?
Yeah, and also, I don't have a laptop here, so.
Oh, I see. Okay.
I don't want to be like looking at my phone while I'm having a conversation. So.
I get you. Yeah, it's just you want to be able to just consult the printout. All right. So
a lot of bold numbers on this printout. A lot of bold numbers.
Yeah,
he had quite a run.
He did, but like the thing that annoys me about some of these old stats is that they don't pop off the page as much as they should because of some of like the gaudy numbers we've had in the last 10 years. Or longer, like
you're right.
You know what I'm saying? It's just like for the rule changes or whatever it is, or just like the emphasis on passing, like like Drew Brees, for instance, we just talked about, like all the passing he did to running backs and checkdowns and everything. But well, let's go through it, man.
Well, it's funny because he's only got 2 seasons with more than 4,000 yards. Which nowadays like bad quarterbacks do.
I know. And it makes me mad to think about that. Because think if he was around today.
So he'd be doing some damage.
Like, seriously,
he only has 2 seasons with more than 30 passing touchdowns.
Yeah.
And both of which led the league. This was in 1994 and 1998.
Yeah.
But he led the league in completion percentage 5 times out of 6 from 92 to 97. And it was never lower than 66.7, which for back then is really, really good. Even good now, but
yeah. His Sterling.
He won the Super Bowl.
Yeah, go ahead. Sorry. Yeah, I was going to go there.
He won the Super Bowl. He completed 70% of his passes.
Yeah.
Which is.
He was super accurate. I mean, the great thing about the West Coast offense was like all those high percentage passes. It was kind of like, I don't know. I think of the Kurt Warner and the Greatest Show on Turf. Just all those little slants. What was his name? They had so many. They had Isaac Bruce, Torrey Holt, and Hakeem. That's what they had. And they had these guys just running all over the field and all these like really high percentage passes, similar to what Steve had in San Fran. Obviously, they had the greatest receiver of all time, Jerry Rice, who. While you discuss Steve, I'm going to pull up Jerry Rice's stats just so I can kind of like look at their stats juxtaposed to each other and kind of track Yeah, man, Jerry had 1,500 yards that season and 13 touchdowns, 94. Um, and as you talked about, he had that crazy Super Bowl performance against the lowly Chargers.
Yeah, he was very good. Turns out, that the man who scored the most touchdowns in football history was very good at football. But,
he was. I'd say he's a quality player. This Jerry Rice. Yeah, man.
Perennial first-round fantasy pick.
Yeah, I remember when he was in Oakland. He was solid for fantasy. You know, good third receiver, good second or third. All right, so that's when that means I'm 14-2 was a man.
That's 92.
Oh, I'm sorry, 92. 66% completion, 3,465 yards, 20. Not see. That's the thing with him. It's like that isn't that gaudy, but for then it was really good. It was solid. It was and the thing we have to remember is like the rushing numbers. Like even when he played
for what jumped out at me too when I looked at his stats.
Yeah, and like the touchdowns, like every year starting from 91 to 98, he had 4, 4, 2, 7, 3, 4, 3, 6 rushing touchdowns. And he had the most rushing yards he had was in 92, 537 yards, 4 touchdowns. I swear to God, he was the master of like it'd be 3rd and like 8, and he'd get flushed out of the pocket. He couldn't find anybody, and he would just run for like 20 yards. And like he just did that like I feel like every time they needed a first down, not every single time obviously, but seemingly every time they needed a first down, he would just scramble. He would scramble for it and just broke teams' backs over and over and over again. And he would run. He ran around like a man with like a chicken with his head cut off. Like he was just like a guy with his hair on fire or something. He just was kind of flailing, kind of jerking around. Like there's his run against the Vikings, I think it was, where he's just like guys are like falling in, like crashing into each other. He's like spinning around. He was so much fun to watch. And in fact, Josh Allen plays for the Bills. I feel like is in his same mold in terms of a running quarterback. If he could just get a little more accurate, he's like a homeless man's Steve Young. I really like watching him play. Let's get back.
Yeah, when Josh Allen does something good, it's really entertaining. He's I think all Bills fans will be happy to hear you say that he reminds you of Steve Young, because that is quite the ceiling for that young man.
He really does, man. Have you watched him play a lot?
Yeah, I mean, whatever shows up on Red Zone, he definitely is. He's a lot more mobile than a guy that you'd expect from a guy that size.
Yeah, and and I feel like he starts running. He doesn't really have a plan, and he just kind of like his confusion is almost like is an asset, because like the defenders don't really like. He's so herky jerky that it's like he's just making guys like crash into each other like Keystone Cops or like some kind of cartoon or something. It's just I don't know. I find it very entertaining.
Did you get hired by the Buffalo Bills? Are you working for them?
Man,
confusion is an asset.
Confusion is an asset. It's like the Lakers. Like the confusion is an asset. Like that's they could just take that and run with it. Well, actually, they are right now. Anyway, so much drama in the NBA right now. That's why NBA is so compelling, even year round. It's just can't get enough.
Everything except the finals.
What's that?
Everything except the finals is compelling.
You don't think it's going to be compelling this year?
No, I don't think Golden State winning in 5 is going to be particularly interesting.
I don't know, man. I see. I don't know what to really expect, but I feel like the Raptors they're such an underdog, but they have so many defenders, so many guys that they can throw at Golden State. They don't have OG Anunoby, who would be nice. He might come back though, but they have all these like long, athletic guys. They don't have a ton, but they have Siakam, Serge Ibaka, Kawhi. Um, we'll see, but I think it's going to be interesting.
Yeah, one of those guys you just mentioned matters.
Well, if Siakam could like come out and average like 16 points,
that's not the one, Ben. That's not the one.
Yeah, I know, but I'm just saying if he could like step up a little bit. But I mean, Fred Van Vliet is not going to come in and do what he did again. I mean, if he does, like, that's amazing. But like I feel like people aren't talking about that enough. Like the guy just came off the bench and scored 21 points in Game 5 of a conference final NBA playoff game. It's like that was. I mean, Kawhi played amazing, but like without that contribution, I mean, I don't know. I mean, he's just, and he was lights out the next game too. He's like, I don't know what he's shooting, but he's shooting like 10 for 13 or something from three the last couple games, and it's just unreal. So without that, the Raptors aren't going to beat the Bucks. They might beat them, but eventually, but they wouldn't have beaten them in Game 5, Game 6. But anyways, and I'm curious to see if Durant comes back.
I think he will, especially if they lose one of the first two.
Do you actually think that Golden State is better without him, as many people are saying?
No, that's insane.
I don't think it's true either, but I feel like
they're different and still very good.
There's so much flow in the offense. There's just so much like sharing of the ball, quick passing. It just seems more natural. They feel like one organism without him, and with him, you could see there's just such a difference. There's a pretty stark difference. But I do think they're going to need him against Kawhi and the Raptors for sure. I can't wait to see. I really hope Raptors can shock Golden State in one of those games at home or on the road, I should say. But Game 1 is in Toronto, though, right? I mean, the Raptors have home court.
Yeah, the Raptors have home court.
That's underrated, man. I said I'm excited to see. I'm excited for Game 1. If Golden State wins Game 1, then yeah, I think it's going to be an uphill battle. But I can't wait.
If Golden State wins Game 1, I think it's going to be a sweep.
You think so? Yeah. A lot of people are so dismissive of the Raptors, but we'll see, man. I wanted the Bucks to win. I really did. I was hoping. I wanted Giannis. I wanted to see Giannis against Golden State, but he would have gotten exposed even worse against Golden State, probably.
Probably. And it's not. I'm not dismissing the Raptors because the Raptors aren't a good team. I'm dismissing the Raptors because the Warriors are the Warriors, and so.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, Game 1's going to reveal a lot. I'm excited. I'm going to be glued to the tube. I think I'm going to a local establishment here with a couple friends. Anyways, back to Steve Young. Sorry, the NBA is just on my mind right now. It's permeating my being.
That time of year.
Yeah. So yeah, his rushing stats are extremely gaudy. He's a career over 4,000 rushing yards for a quarterback. I think he has more rushing yards than Gale Sayers or something. Gale Sayers had a really short career, but that's just kind of a weird stat that just pops out. 43 career rushing TDs for a quarterback.
Yeah,
it's gaudy.
That's a lot.
Gaudy as hell. That's not the record. I bet Michael Vick has more than that or something.
Chris, I think Cam Newton has more than that by now.
You think you're probably right, yeah. Most rushing TDs.
Cam had 14 one year.
Yeah. No, yeah, you're right. Yep, Cam Newton broke the record for most rushing touchdowns.
Was it Young's record?
He broke it in. He broke Young's record in 2016. So yeah.
His 60th year in the league.
Guess who's number 3?
7th year. Randall Cunningham?
No, but you're kind of in the right era, and I feel like Randall Cunningham is not in this list. It's Cordell Stewart, man. 38.
Really?
Then Steve McNair, then Michael Vick, then Steve Grogan and Randall Cunningham are tied at 35. Sorry, I didn't see that. Steve Grogan, Not really familiar with him. He's a Oilers quarterback. And then Dante Culpepper, who has some gaudy stats. Then John Elway, Terry Bradshaw, and Donovan McNabb. Interesting.
Donovan McNabb, who has been declaring himself a Hall of Famer.
What is going? So seriously, what is happening with Donovan McNabb right now? Like, what is going on in his mind? I feel like he's having a nervous breakdown. It's been going on for like 10 years. Is it because?
It's been 20 actually.
Is it like what is happening with him?
He never recovered from people booing him at the draft. And I mean, I don't know. The Philadelphia media has always been probably more unkind to him definitely more unkind to him than he deserved.
I think that's true. That's true.
He is objectively the best quarterback in franchise history, and most people, I shouldn't say most people, I should say like that a very vocal minority does not view him that way, including like longtime loudmouth talk show guy and Angelo Cataldi, who's like the Mike Francesa of Philadelphia, and but he's like louder and more obnoxious. And so, but McNabb, like this past week, was saying that he has better numbers than Troy Aikman, which I guess in the regular season, even though they played in different eras, is true. But like last time I checked, 3-0 was a number. And
yeah, he did make the Super Bowl though. I mean that is something. Like he got to the Super Bowl.
He's 1-4 in semifinal games. That's not great. So.
Yeah, I don't think it tells the whole story, but I do think there is something to it. I mean, you can't hold that against him. You can give him points for getting that far, but also hold it against him as well. And that year,
he's not entirely to blame.
But his personality now is just weird. He seems very, I feel like he's very bitter, and he's like he's taking shots at Carson Wentz. He's taking shots at quarterbacks, and it just comes off really bad. It looks really small while he's doing that. I don't know why he's doing that. It's odd. He did put up some gaudy stats though here and there. Those days with him,
he's very good.
Those days with him and Westbrook. I remember I had them both one year, and it was a joy.
Yeah, the 8 games McNabb actually played, I'm sure your team did very well.
Yeah, Westbrook couldn't stay on the field. Jesus Christ. That's why I stopped drafting running backs so high. It's because they would just get hurt all the time. I drafted Sean Alexander after his crazy year he had, and then he immediately like shattered his leg on the third or fourth week of the season. Just done with that. Watch me draft like Saquon Barkley first this year. Oh boy, I kind of want to.
Saquon is a joy to watch.
Yeah, he was joy for you. You owned him. But he was a joy to watch, objectively, all those receptions. But Steve, I can't say enough good things about this guy. I was obsessed with him. He comes back in '93, 4,000 yards passing, roughly 4,023, 29 touchdowns. And his completion percentage, I feel like you mentioned earlier, is something that really stands out. It's like the high 60s, even getting up to 70. That's Breezian. That's Breezian completion percentage right there.
It is, and for that era, it wasn't that long ago, but for that era, it really was an anomaly. I mean, anything over 60% was considered sort of like elite production, and he was above 60% for basically 10 straight years. And it's pretty impressive stuff. I also got to think about how the 49ers might have had the 2 best quarterbacks in the NFL on the same team for like 6 years.
Yeah. If he had a chance to start his career with a team and be the starter for the whole time, I feel like his stats would be more impressive because he toiled in Tampa. He toiled away behind Joe Montana, and that's like 6 years, 7-ish years there where he didn't get to really accumulate stats, and it's a damn shame because he just didn't get a chance to have a full body of work. In the years he did play, he had a lot of years where he was hurt. Didn't play full seasons. Still put up great numbers, but wasn't able to fully show what he could do. But he still put up like 4,000-yard seasons. In 94, the year we were talking about earlier, when he had 70% completion, he had 3,969 yards passing, 35 touchdowns, which even now is pretty good. I mean, it's not Patrick Mahomesian, but that's like on another level.
Yeah, well, 12 years from now, Patrick Mahomes is going to get his own podcast. So,
I mean, I might do a premature. If he comes out this year and has another crazy year, I'm gonna have to just talk about it a little bit, because I mean, just looking at his stats, they're just so. I mean, it's just amazing. 5,097 passing yards and 50 touchdowns. There's something about the 5,050 that just sends me over the moon. But I truly believe that if Steve Young was around today, he could put up a stat line like that. I really believe that. Like
I think so too. And he'd probably be rushing for 500 yards and doing all sorts of things that would get Ben Simmons to spend $55 on him at an auction. So,
yeah. But that's why I hope that Josh Allen can reach those heights, because we need somebody.
We're working for the Bills.
we need somebody to become like the next Steve Young, because I mean, someone would say, well, what about Aaron Rodgers? And it's true. Like, I really do think that, and some would say, oh, he's a better version of Steve Young. And that's where I kind of bristle and I grit my teeth, but I kind of have to admit that it's kind of true, and I've even said it before. But I feel like if Steve had his whole career with the Niners, let's say he's played like 16 years in the Niners, he averaged like 13 games a season starting. I would think he would be like just an Aaron Rodgers clone, possibly better. I think he was taller than Aaron Rodgers, and he was he looked a little sturdier. But maybe that was because he was wearing those like war armor shoulder pads. Those like huge shoulder pads. But
we're also viewing him as a young lad who was very impressionable.
I was looking up to him. I was looking up to him as a wee boy. But what a joy to watch he was. My God.
Yeah.
But this is all.
I'll never forget that. Was it?
No, go ahead.
Was that an NFC Championship game, or was it a conference semifinal of them against Green Bay, where they just kept going back and forth?
It was in 1998, I believe. Where you're talking about the throw to Owens.
I think that's the same game.
That game was unreal, although Jerry Rice did fumble in that game. It was like a blatant fumble that if they had instant replay, the Niners would have had no chance.
No, that was a first-round game, I think. I'm thinking of a game like a year or two before that where they played the Packers in the conference. I think it was the conference final.
That must have been when the Packers won the Super Bowl. Yeah, that must have been. Yeah. I gotta be honest.
Or the year they lost to the Broncos. I think it was the year they lost to the Broncos. But
yeah, no, I think you're correct. I'm gonna go look into the annals of the playoff game logs here and see if I can find anything. Yes, was that in? Oh wait, hold on a second. They played Green Bay in 97, I guess 97, 98, and they lost. They lost to them 23-10. Although they beat Minnesota, they beat the Vikings the round before. But I think you're talking about a different year.
Yeah, maybe it was 96 or whatever. I don't know. It might have been 96. But
oh man,
there was a Minnesota, not a Minnesota. There was a San Francisco Green Bay game that just kept going back and forth in the fourth quarter. And the final score would not have been 23-10.
No, I know. I know what you're talking about. Wait, there's another one there's another one 96-97 season in the playoffs. Man, they got whooped by Green Bay 2 years in a row. I kind of forgot. I kind of blocked this out of my mind. It's just sad. They lost 35-14. I think Steve got knocked out of that game too. He only had 8 yards passing. I gotta say, I love Steve Young, but he got knocked out of games a lot. Poor guy.
Well, when you're scrambling around like that, you're gonna get hit.
I know, when you're scrambling around like a crazy person, like a mental patient, just running around. Um, well, shit, man. I can't find that. Sorry about that. But they had some battles. I mean, I gotta go straight to the '98 season though, because it was a heartbreaker. They win that amazing game against Green Bay, kind of like shake off some demons because they had issues against Green Bay. And if you remember, Green Bay like had that crazy playoff home win streak. I think they like Michael Vick broke it or something, like randomly, or maybe it was Eli. I don't know, but it went on forever, and I think the Niners fell victim to it multiple times. But they beat Green Bay. Owens catches that, like, one of the best throws I've ever seen. I mean, it was like Mahomesian. Again, I'm going to use that phrase, even though I should really be saying it's Steve Young-esque when Mahomes throws those passes, because he's taking a book out of Steve Young's, or a page out of Steve Young's book. But that was just a frozen rope to T.O. T.O. catches it. He'd been dropping balls all game long. He had dinner plate hands. He's crying. And then they go to Atlanta and lose to those fucking Dirty Birds.
Is that same year? Yeah. Okay.
And
That Falcons.
it was like they were a team of destiny. It felt like they were like on their way. They were gonna go like them and the Broncos were on a collision course seemingly, and everything just got ruined by the stupid Falcons. Like I can't stand that Dirty Bird team. They drive me freaking crazy. Like, so brutal. And they only got there because the Vikings, they also like deprived us of a Vikings-Niners showdown because the stupid, what's his name? Anderson. He's not stupid. He missed the kick or whatever, but we went through the Vikings, you and I, the '98 season.
We did.
Oh man, I was so mad watching that Falcons game. Opening up
Are
wounds
you
here.
saying you don't want me to mail you the Chris Chandler jersey I found at Goodwill in Albuquerque?
Did you really?
No.
Because that would be hilarious. I mean, that's such a great troll many years later. But
I did send you an Ed McCaffrey jersey, didn't I?
yes, and I still have it. Looking at it right now. Walking over to my closet. Yep. It's a great. I can't thank you enough for that. It's wonderful. I actually I have a friend in town who's a Broncos fan, and I keep toying with him like I'm gonna give it to him, but I'm like I never actually do. I never will. But it's just kind of a fun way to mess with him.
Yeah, the Goodwill stores in New York City are a treasure trove of NFL jerseys, because you just have people who are from all over, who like move to New York with their stupid jerseys, and they're like, I don't want these, and they give them away. And
yeah,
I found so many great like Eagles from the mid '90s jerseys.
I bet, man.
Like,
yeah.
Does anyone else own a Trey Thomas jersey and a Troy Vincent jersey? Probably not, but I do. So.
Wait. Trey Thomas, was he a defender? Was he like a D lineman? I can't remember.
He was a left tackle. A good one too. But
yeah,
he was the guy that they drafted the same year that Randy Moss was drafted. And the Eagles are one of only like 2 or 3 teams that didn't make an embarrassing pick in retrospect. Because Trey Thomas was like a Pro Bowler for like a decade. So he was actually good. But I mean, obviously they still should have taken Randy Moss. But
yeah, he was great. I think I'm starting to kind of remember Trey Thomas a little bit. I mean, I gotta say, with all the gaudy stats, we discuss whatever, never really talk about the linemen, but they really are the most important part of the game if you think about it. But they're just not sexy in a sports sense.
I would argue that Jason Kelsey is very sexy.
Well, that's true. That's true.
In his mummer's outfit, giving a speech.
He's hilarious. Mm-hmm. He's hilarious, that guy. Yeah, man. So like the '98 season. So, I mean, the crown jewels of Steve's career, if we're being honest, and I was just glancing over Ed McCaffrey's stats, which aren't as gaudy as I thought they were, but they're not bad. We can talk about those another time. But Steve, he was hurt a lot between 95, not a lot, but he was like kind of in and out between 95 and 96. So his stats are kind of incomplete. If you look at if you look at like the pace he was on for some of those years, like for instance, he played 11 games in 95. He had 3,200 passing yards and 20 touchdowns. I mean, listen, I'm not a mathematician, but if you expand that out to a full season, he's going over 4,000 yards, maybe 30 touchdowns, lots of rushing yards. The rushing season that stands out to me, there's multiple ones that I like, but he had over 500 rushing yards in 92, 4 touchdowns. He had 7 touchdowns in 94. So if you add up the 7 touchdowns rushing with a 35 passing, it's 42 touchdowns. That's like gaudy even for by today's standards. Even in like the Manning, Breeze, Mahomes era that we're currently in here, and even Brady to a certain extent. But really, the crown jewels are the 94 season and the 98 season, where he has 36 passing touchdowns and how many rushing? He had 6 rushing touchdowns. So he's going over 40 total touchdowns in both those seasons. And then he gets clobbered by, was it Mo? It was Mo something. I can't remember his name, from the Jets in the 99 season. And he gets just bludgeoned and has another concussion, and he's basically like, okay, I'm out, because I'm going to have a horrible life in the future if I continue to be concussed over and over and over again, dozens of times seemingly. And then Jeff Garcia comes in, and that's a story for another podcast, because I got a soft spot for Jeff Garcia as well, as you know.
I mean, you're talking to an Eagles fan, so I do as well.
I mean, that guy so underrated, man. You want to talk about a guy who, if he was in his prime, his entire career in the NFL, he was given a chance. I mean, he's like I feel like he's the real Rudy kind of character. This little guy who has a voice like I don't know, like a Care Bear. And he's like, nobody believes in him, and he's so gritty. God. Grittiest quarterback. Him and Doug Flutie are vying for grittiest QB of all time. It's true, man.
The title of this podcast should be a Steve Young podcast. Jeff Garcia is the real Rudy.
He is, though. I mean, if you look at and he gets so mistreated.
He's more of a Matt Saracen.
Who's that?
Did you never watch Friday Night Lights?
Unfortunately not. No. I heard it's good, though.
Oh, Benjamin, you need to change that post-haste.
There's so much fucking content. There's too many things to watch.
But Friday Night Lights is an all-time great show.
Really? How many seasons?
Yes. 5.
How long are the eps? Like an hour?
45 minutes.
And it's like, how many eps per season? Like 20 or something? 15?
Well, it varies, because like it got hit hard by the writer's strike in like season 2, and so that's kind of weird. And the show like sort of goes off the rails for a bit in the second season, but then it comes back down to earth in season 3, and it's great.
Was that when like the
best end.
Like were the producers and actors writing it during that time or something? They like switched.
I don't even know, man. There's just like some weird plot line where some high schoolers murder somebody. So
Jesus Christ.
Not the. I mean, it was self-defense, but
Yeah. Were a lot of stats put up by is it like stat centric? Do they like talk about the stats?
Oh, there is some bloody stats put up by the Dillon Panthers, to say the least. So.
I will say, I remember this guy, like one time in high school, at Manual, there was this guy who played for the Manual football team. He's a running back, and we played like some small high school with like a really horrible team. And we put up like 600 yards rushing on them. And this guy had like 425 yards rushing and 4 touchdowns. That was one of the gaudiest things I've ever seen in my life. Can't remember
pretty good day at the office.
The dude's name, yeah. But high school football is some gaudy stats there that I do enjoy, especially when you see, like we talked about it, like all-time greats, like NBA players or football players, their numbers in high school, even just like all-star players. Like I remember Rondo grew up in Louisville, and I think I've told you this before, but he played for a high school called Eastern, and he was putting up like 40, 25, like 12, and like 7 blocks and 6 steals and stuff like just disgusting stat lines. Like seemingly like he was the whole offense and defense of the team. Like he had team stats for his individual stats.
I do seem to recall a grainy YouTube video of a very long human being that we both happen to know committing a very hard foul on Rajon Rondo sometime in like 2001.
Oh man, you want to talk about a guy with all the tools?
It did not derail Rondo's career, thankfully.
Yeah,
but
surprised Rondo didn't like.
Nor did it launch our friend's career. But
what an athlete, both of them. So yeah, we're getting off the rails here about Steve Young, but I mean honestly, there's not that much gaudiness besides what we've described. I mean, he had some gaudy games that I suppose we can get into.
I mean, that Super Bowl probably deserves at least more than a passing mention that we gave it.
Exactly, like
that's one of the great beatdowns in Super Bowl history.
Yeah, I think that maybe that we should just go there. Man. Okay. Let's just. Do you have it in front of you? Just take it away, man. Just because I don't have it in front of me right now.
Well, I don't actually. I don't have that specific game, but I do remember he had like 375 yards, 6 touchdowns, no interceptions, and
Jesus Christ.
You know, because I remember, like I said, I remember Jerry Rice running wild in that game, and he did, but despite 140 yards, 10 catches, and 3 touchdowns, he did not win the Super Bowl MVP because Steve Young had 6 touchdowns. So.
Okay, I'm looking at it right. Yeah, I wanted to get the exact number right here for the passing yards. So yeah, as you said, 325 yards passing.
It's 325. Okay.
Oh, what'd you say?
I think 375. Okay,
oh, well, whatever. I mean, it was just they shredded the Chargers. It was a total drubbing. It was 49-26, but there was some garbage time in there. 6 touchdowns. He didn't throw 1 interception the entire playoffs. It was just, and they marched through the play. I mean, against Dallas, there was definitely a game there, 38-28. I remember that game. It was another kind of like breakthrough moment, getting past Dallas. Dallas and Green Bay. I mean, think about that. Those were 3 teams in the '90s that were just battling. Dallas, Green Bay, and the Niners. Great teams, legendary teams, going at it every playoffs. And the Niners were just stacked this year. I think they had Dion. Their payroll was insane. Like Dallas was basically like swapping players with the Niners. You know, like I think the Niners had Ken Norton one year. Like the Dallas had them. Like they were just like trading players. So it was a little.
Charles Haley too.
Yeah, Charles Haley. It was just kind of goofy in that regard, but at the same time, I didn't enjoy this Super Bowl any less because of it. But 6 touchdowns just shredded them. Like it was just a drubbing like no other. Like compared to this past Super Bowl, it was so much more entertaining, like 10 times more entertaining when there's a blowout as opposed to. Actually, that's not true. Hold on. Let me pull that back, because I will say I found myself definitely engaged this past Super Bowl. I was annoyed and frustrated. I like seeing offense, but it was a close game for most of the game. So I shouldn't say that a blowout is more entertaining, because like in the second half of a blowout, I mean, nothing's even happening. So, but Jerry Rice.
A blowout is more entertaining than a Patriots win. I'll put it that way.
Yeah, okay, that's what I was trying to say. So Steve Young, he had 4 touchdowns in the first half. First one was to Jerry Rice, 44 yards. Then he had a 51-yard pass to Ricky Waters, and Ricky Waters is like a forgotten running back.
I have a Ricky Waters Eagles jersey, so I haven't forgotten.
Good. I'm glad to hear that, man, because he had some really gaudy seasons as well that we'll touch on here in a second. Then William Floyd, the pass catching fullback of the Niners, who I had forgotten about till I just saw his name. He had a touchdown. Then Ricky Waters is coming back with an 8-yard touchdown. So they're smothering them at this point. Then Ricky Waters has another catch for like a 9-yard rushing touchdown. Then Jerry Rice gets back into it with a 15-yard reception, 15-yard touchdown and a 7-yard touchdown. It was just classic, not classic, but it was just exactly what Niners fans wanted to see. I was watching something a little while ago where Steve Young was talking. I think it was the Super Bowl like NFL Life or whatever it's called on the NFL Network. Steve Young was talking to Mike Shanahan about the offensive game plan like the night before the Super Bowl, and he said that Mike Shanahan turned to him and was like, "We're gonna effing destroy them," because like they found a wrinkle in the deep pass, like kind of the deep crosses that they hit him on with both Jerry and Ricky Waters, and they just exploited that to no end. And God, Ricky Waters had crazy numbers in this game.
It sounds like he scored 3 touchdowns.
Yeah, he had 3 touchdowns. He had 1 rushing touchdown. Didn't have a lot of rushing yards, but let's see. Yeah,
I thought you were going to say the wrinkle they exploited was having more talent. We realized we're much better than the Chargers.
Yeah. I mean, I'm such a.
The quarterback was Stan Humphries, for fuck's sake.
Yeah, I'm such a homer. Like I'm basking in this again, all these years later. So like, I'm not making any points. I'm not talking about anything interesting. But Ricky only hit 112 yards and 3 touchdowns. He didn't have that many yards. Jerry had 13 targets for 10 receptions, 149 yards and 3 touchdowns. And we talked about Steve, 325, 6 touchdowns. Yeah, Stan Humphries. I mean, they weren't really going up against much. Natron Means, interesting character, but didn't do much either. Kind of a forgettable team. Besides, was Junior Seau even in? He wasn't even playing for them, was he?
Oh yeah.
Oh, he was.
He was the star that day. Yeah.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, that was like his crowning moment. Yeah. I mean, that's really it for Steve. I mean, we could go on and on, obviously, but I've already waxed poetic too much about him. Not even waxing poetic, just like gushing, not even making a lot of sense. But what can I say?
Comparing him favorably to Josh Allen.
I'm just a fan. I want Josh Allen to be great. I really do. I like his game. I hope he's like Steve Young, but who knows? But really fast. So I want to just touch on Ricky Waters. Let's see. Yeah, man. If you look at he's an underrated, gaudy performer. He had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 seasons over 1,000 yards rushing. He had 3 seasons over 10 with 10 over 10 or over rushing TDs. 1 with 9, 2 with 7. I don't know. He had some great receiving seasons too. I mean, for a running back, he's no Charlie Garner, but he had some great receiving seasons.
He's somewhere between Charlie Garner and Garrison Hurst.
Yeah, Charlie Garner, man. Oh God! I think one time we should do we'll do a Raiders podcast, like the Gannon years, with Jerry and Gannon and Charlie, Tim Brown.
Was Charlie Garner on those teams?
He had a season with the Raiders where he put up 900 receiving yards and 900 rushing yards and he had 90 catches. Just like an incredible fantasy season. And they had Tyrone Wheatley, who was playing for that team, and like getting a lot of rushing TDs, and Zach Crockett and Rich Gannon. Man, I love those teams because like it was all about the short passing game, which is just the best. I mean, it doesn't get any better than that. Shit, man.
You're such a purist for the West Coast offense.
I think I kind of just blacked out there for a little while. I was just going back to the old days. Yeah, West Coast offense is great. Split backs, short slants, short button hooks. Well, man, what do you think about this upcoming Philly season? The Eagles season, I mean to say. So Carson Wentz, they've committed to him. Nick Foles has gone to the Jaguars. This is what you want, correct? You wanted. We talked about it. You didn't want to. You said Foles should get his money, and Wentz is the quarterback of the future.
Yeah, I mean that was really the only path they had.
Yeah.
You know, something like trading person. But, you know, if he's healthy, which is a big if he's been healthy for 2 years, then they're the best team in the division. But if he's not, then we'll see. And there's no Nick Foles to fall back on this time. But there's only the only other team in the division that's any good is Dallas. So maybe in Washington for a playoff spot. I don't think so.
I hate to say it, but like most of what you just said is was really garbled. I couldn't hear it. So I'm gonna try to walk to a different part of the house just so I can get. Sorry about that.
Well, I was basically saying the NFC is the 2-team race this year, and if Carson Wentz is healthy, the Eagles will probably win that race. So
yeah. Yeah. So what do you think about all this talk about how players don't like him or something, or he rubs people the wrong way? It's kind of an old rumor, but I feel like it popped up right after they got eliminated.
I just heard about it a little bit recently. I don't know. I wouldn't be surprised if he's kind of like a MAGA Ched, but because he's from like North Dakota and likes hunting and Jesus. So it's but I haven't heard anything about that specifically.
Yeah.
So, that could certainly rub some players the wrong way, but again, I haven't actually heard that. So I don't know. As far as I can tell, his teammates seem to like him, so I'm not too worried about it.
And you're still a Doug Peterson disciple?
Oh yeah, coach for life.
I love that guy. I really do. I think he's such a innovative coach. But I'm going to stick by what I said though. I don't know if he's the best quarterback for Doug Peterson. I feel like Peterson likes guys who are a little bit more like a system QB, like kind of like Foles was. I'm not saying that Wentz isn't going to be good, or talk about a Steve Young-esque player. That guy has a lot of Steve Young running through his blood, but I don't know. Personally, I'm not sure if he's the best fit in that offense, but we'll see. I mean, he had a good season. He's put up some nice numbers. He's won some games, but Foles has had more success.
So it's easy to think of that playoff run, but Wentz was well on his way to winning the MVP before he got hurt 2 years ago. So
it's true. This is true.
He was pretty spectacular in 2017. He hasn't been healthy since.
It's true. Health has clouded things a bit, and I'm not saying he's bad. And I think what they're doing is probably the right choice, but I don't know. It just when they're watching them with Foles, it's almost like watching the Warriors without Durant. It's like they become more Wentz-centric when he's in the game. It's like we have this athletic guy. Let's give him the ball, let him run around, figure something out. And when they have Foles, it's like, okay, we have a system. Everything's more precision. We have a plan. I don't know. It's just it's not. It's kind of a lukewarm take. I'm not gonna lie. It's half baked, but I'm just not a big Wentz fan. But we'll see what happens this year. I hope you guys have a good year because I I was kind of bummed. He had a little bit of a hangover after the Super Bowl. There was so many games that the Eagles could have won that they couldn't squeak out during the year. It was pretty frustrating.
Yes, I'm aware.
Sorry, man. I think I'm squirting like lemon juice on your open wound here. Apologize, but
Yeah, they still made the conference semifinals. So.
Yeah, no, they overachieved big time considering how many struggles they had. They showed a lot of perseverance, for sure. I love Doug Peterson. What can I say? He's fantastic.
He's a great head of hair and a great visor. Yeah.
Purely aesthetic. Purely, it's nothing to do with his football acumen. Just his appearance.
I mean, Doug Peterson looks like a guy who you'd be on a pontoon boat and you'd look halfway across the lake, and then he'd be on another pontoon boat, sort of waving at you, holding the beer. You'd be like, that guy knows how to party. So. And also coach football games.
It's such a specific scenario, but
well, I want to relate to you and your audience.
Yeah, my vast audience, who all have been on a pontoon boat at the lake before. Yeah, he does look like that kind of guy. But he also looks like the kind of guy who you go over to his house like late at night, like his lake house, and he's got he's showing AC/DC concert videos, like projecting them on the wall, and he's like serving you margaritas too. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? And he looks like the kind of guy who you could like walk into his study later that night, like at 2 a.m., and he'd be like have his glasses on, and he'd be like reading Vince Lombardi's biography, and then talk to you like for 4 hours until the sun comes up about the inner workings of the West Coast offense, and he just seems like he's an everyman, but he's also a professor, which is what you need with a coach. And what can I say? I'm a fan. I'm a little jealous actually because I wish the Niners had him. I feel like they could have gotten him. I don't hate our coach, the younger Shanahan. I don't hate him, but man, I don't even know what to think about the Niners season coming up. Like I just want Garoppolo to stay healthy, but I don't even know what I feel about him. I kind of don't like him now. He kind of annoys me. I don't know. He's just kind of like a douchebag, seems like, but hopefully he can sling that rock.
Well, he is from the Tom Brady school of being a good-looking aloof quarterback.
Douchebaggery? The douchebaggery school?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. And is Tom Brady just going to play forever? I mean, is he...
God, I hope not.
Does he just inject like bull semen into his brainstem or something? Like, what is his secret? I want to know.
I think it's the blood of his own children. I don't think it's something as weird as bull semen. I think it's the blood of his. I think he had children to blood dope with them.
Oh my God, he's cycling young blood. He's cycling his own child's blood.
Yeah, I think so.
That would be a crazy rumor, but I gotta be honest. If I heard that rumor, if it popped up, I would not. I would kind of pause and be like, "That's fucking crazy," but I wouldn't be completely surprised. And I think that's what we've gotten with Tom and his weird.
The Patriots fans would be defending it within like 8 minutes.
Of course, yeah. I mean,
why else would you have kids?
Yeah, why else would you have kids? To watch them grow, to take satisfaction in their accomplishments? No, to use their blood. Of course. Well, a lot of Silicon Valley types are supposedly doing that, cycling young blood through their veins to. I guess it has benefits. It restores. I don't know. It's so fucked up. That kind of thing it signals to me the end of the world. I mean, there's a lot of things that signal that, but it's just one of many things that are dark. All right, man. Well, good talk. Anything else you want to touch on?
I don't think so. Maybe we can touch base after the finals. Rehash the NBA free agency, see where that's going. Yeah.
Can't wait for the free agency. Oh man, I cannot wait for that. You know who I really am excited to see where he goes is Malcolm Brogdon. I really like Malcolm Brogdon. I don't know how I missed this season. He had a 50-40-90 season.
That's pretty good.
I mean, he's one of like 8 players or something who's had 50-40-90. I mean, I will admit, I think Jose Calderon might have been in the mix there, which is kind of embarrassing. But still, like he had a great. He's so efficient, and in that playoffs, he played great. I feel like they should have featured him more and gotten away from like Bledsoe. That's another thing is Bledsoe. I like Bledsoe from his Phoenix days, but he destroyed the Bucks. Like he just, God, he destroyed the Bucks. It was so sad to watch. But Malcolm Brogdon, man, I'm gonna do a pod about him. So that's something
I
for.
really like how this is now a pro Josh Allen, pro Malcolm Brogdon podcast.
Well, maybe I'll just rename it like I'll rename the podcast like Rich Man's Josh Allen, Steve Young, something like that. All right, man. Well, good talking to you. Have fun in Philly.
Definitely.
Take it easy on yourself.
Okay.
Don't push yourself to the limit too hard.
I won't. Don't worry.
All right. What do you really fast? What are you eating there? Like, what have you been eating the last couple days?
So yesterday I binged on like some oysters and clams, and because I gotta get my
What's that?
what I cannot get in New Mexico is raw shellfish. So
New Mexico food is awesome though. I love New Mexico.
It is, and there's a fairly decent variety, all things considered.
Yeah.
But raw shellfish is not among that variety.
That's true. That's true.
Had a nice bagel with lox this morning, and from a really good bakery in Philadelphia. So
sounds great.
That's how I prepped for the podcast today. So,
Nice. Well, you sound like you might need to take a nap because you sound a little tired.
I may.
So just rest up.
I've been awake for about 2.5 hours now, so that's pushing it.
Yeah, just become a bear. Just start hibernating. Just rest up, man. You need to let your body heal. You can't bounce back as fast as you used to. You just gotta repair. Let your body repair itself.
True. These are always demeaning truths that I must accept.
Indeed. All right, man. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.